everybody know what we're doing. We're coming to you live once again from the LeVelUp studios here, right in beautiful Valparaiso, Indiana. You know, I was called the king of Valparaiso one time, probably only by one person, but either way, I'm excited to be here today. I told you guys that we're going to have a special guest. The point of this show, when we started doing this, Casey and I were talking about how can I provide some value? A lot of people have helped me. A lot of people were there to provide content and provide value and provide advice and things that I really needed. And so I'm at a point now where we've done some cool things. We've built some cool companies, and I feel like it's time that we give back a little bit. And so the point of this show is to share with you guys some of the stuff that I've learned and share with you guys some of the things that we've done over the years to make our lives better and level up really all aspects of our life. And so today I got my best buddy, my partner in crime, my roll dog, Jenny Walker. Most of you know her. Thanks for coming, Jenny.
Hey, Jenny.
Do a real formal handshake here with Jenny.
You talked me up way too good in your
previous
live, yeah.
Come on. So let me find us here real quick. So we got Jenny on this. What's really funny is that and I say this, I'm going to start the show off with something really nice, and then we can go into all the other stuff too.
Some nitty-gritty.
But what's really crazy? Why can't I find this live here? Find it for me. What's really crazy is that, see, I'm showing you something already. Sometimes I got to let her help me. What's kind of interesting is that I've got a whole marker board of people that either want to be on the show or that we want to have on this show. And Casey and I were talking this morning, and I'm like, you know what? To be honest with you, I think that this is now going to be our fourth show that we've done. Our last couple shows we've had, last one on Monday got 15,000 views. So we've had 15,000 people at least click on and watch some of our show. It doesn't mean they watched the whole thing, but they clicked and watched some of it, enough for it to register. So 15,000 people watched it. 10,000 people watched the first one we did. Excuse me. I think it's fair to everybody to get a real good understanding of who I am. And if you really want to know who I am, the best way to do that is to know who I'm married to and to hear a little bit about us and our story and kind of what we've been up to for the last couple of years. So I thought it was appropriate at this time that we get Jenny on here. I'll tell you a little bit about her before we dive into the topic. Jenny is an entrepreneur herself. She raises our two little babies. She's a stay-at-home mom, quote unquote. So she is home. If you show up at her house at 2 o'clock, she's probably there unless she's over here on the show. But though she's a quote-unquote stay-at-home mom, Jenny has always brought income into our home forever. Even though she doesn't have to, and even though we may not necessarily need her to be working, she's always provided income for our home. And so we're going to talk today a little bit about, number one, why it's important that she's provided income for the home, but also, you know, kind of what she's done, why she's been doing it. They're saying volume. I don't know if you see that, Casey. We could maybe turn the volume up a little bit. But we're going to share with you guys a little bit as to kind of what we've been doing and how we did it. So first of all, we've been married for 12 years, right? 12 years. We got married in 2005. We dated for 2 years before we were married, right? Mm-hmm. And now we have two little babies.
Mm-hmm. 10 and 7.
10 and 7, so they're not babies anymore.
Not
But we've, over the last 14 years, I think we've done some fun stuff. Yeah. I think that we get asked, people ask us a lot, you know, some people just ask, what do you guys do? Like, what do you guys do?
That doesn't tell the whole story though, right?
It doesn't tell the whole story. So today, hopefully that's the goal. If you can hear us, I know that there's some people saying that they're having a hard time hearing. Maybe we can make sure that we get these mics a little closer. Maybe we're having some issues with that. But let's kind of start with this. The topic of our show and the point of this podcast originally was to was kind of based on the idea that sales is everything. That in everything that we do in our life, we're selling. Our business, the success of our business is going to be kind of dependent on our ability to sell. The success of our marriage, I believe, has a lot to do with selling as well. Mm-hmm. So let's kind of start there. We started off, since we've been together, we've pretty much always been in some kind of business together, right?
Yep.
You want to kind of touch on that? I mean, our life has always been building something, right?
Yeah. Literally, even from, like, we actually met working together at the mall and you know, just building teams, I guess, together from right off the bat. I think that is one thing that we have in common, that we share, that we actually truly enjoy doing together. And then, obviously from there, we've branched out into, and I don't know how much your audience knows about the exacts of your companies, but
probably not a lot. I really haven't, excuse me, I haven't really shared a ton on the specifics of what we do, for a few reasons. One, I don't know that wasn't the point of this. It wasn't to promote, my business necessarily, but it might be worth sharing, I think. But go ahead, what were you?
No, I mean, even over these last 14 years, starting as 19-year-old kids building teams in a mall setting, but they were sales teams, at that time, and then moving into now what you do now, which is run sales teams all over the country, help lead, a country or company of sales teams. Essentially we're kind of doing the same thing, and that we have been doing, just in a much bigger scale, right?
Exactly. So let's share that a little bit. I don't think we've dove into that at all. Most people only know me as the current businesses that we're in. But if you want to know like kind of the backstory on this, when I was in high school, or actually when I graduated high school, I pretty quickly got recruited to go sell fire protection for my uncle's business. It was a family business that had been around since '94. This would have been 2002. And I was basically out selling fire and security, I guess you'd say, door to door. Excuse me. It was my first sales job. I was making good money. It was a great gig. It was 18 years old, and I was making more money than most people were making, with college degrees. But at that time in my life, I was too immature. Number one, I wasn't really in a position where I really could handle the responsibility of being just a self-employed kind of guy. Yeah. And number two, I needed to have fun. So the funny thing is I was walking through the mall one day, and I stumbled upon a kiosk, and a buddy of mine was working there, and I started just kind of talking to him, and he was telling me how he's selling cell phones and he's making all this money and how fun it is. And we were just kind of bantering back and forth about how, I was saying, I could beat you, and he'd say, whatever. Well, anyway, as it turns out, his manager was there listening into this conversation and was like, you think you're so good? Well, why don't you come and work here? And I'm like, I already have a good job. In my mind, I'm thinking like, I got a good job. However, this might be kind of cool.
This might be fun.
Yeah. So because I was self-employed, I had the flexibility to be like, you know what? I'm going to just go do this. I had no intentions of doing this for any amount of time. My sole purpose of this was just to go and just see if I could do it and maybe beat my friend. That was like the only reason I even did it. So I went through the training, and as luck would have it, I started. It was actually really fun. It was right around Christmas time. It was getting into the holiday season, and the assistant manager of the store happened to be the girl sitting next to me right now. So the funny thing was, and this is probably one of the takeaways from the day, or I'd say from the show, is that, I kind of followed my gut on something. I've always done that. If it feels right, if it makes sense and it's not going to hurt anybody and there's not any, legal consequences, I'll usually take a chance on something. And so in this situation, I decided to try something really for no other reason other than just to be competitive, but something was telling me it was the right thing to do. Yeah. Had I not done that, I would have never met you. And who knows if any of this that we have now, well, certainly, we wouldn't have done it together, but who knows if my life, I don't think that I could have done even a fraction of what I've done so far had it not been with you. So it's a cool little part of the story, but as it's told, shut up, Casey's all pouty facing back there. But as it turns out, it was a really good decision. And like you said, we went and we worked together, and side by side, we met each other selling things
building
together,
teams,
right?
Yeah.
So to say that our marriage has been based on, or that our marriage, that sales is in the blood of our family, right, I think is probably a fair statement. Yeah, so anyway, so we worked together. That didn't last super long because inside of me, deep down inside of me, I knew that I was supposed to be a business owner. I did not like to be, I didn't like to have a boss. I know you didn't like to have a boss, even though we had good bosses. I didn't like to have to be told I had to be somewhere at a certain time.
It's so funny you say that. I was, I think I just posted on my page that's my why was always, I don't know what it is. I just never liked answering to someone, whether it's right or wrong. I just didn't. And I know you you remember that about me when we worked together.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember being like, dude, you're a terrible employee.
You're awful.
You suck. Like, why are you still here?
I want to come in when I want to come in, and I want to stay for as long as I want to. No, I'm just, but yeah.
Well, you know, that's.
So then you go out and create something, right?
Yeah, but how many people here are listening to that and they're thinking the same thing? Like, how many people are like, you know, deep down inside of you that you're, maybe it's not that you're not a good employee or that you're not meant to work for somebody, but how many of you are listening to this and deep down inside of you, you know that there's more to you than whatever it is that you're doing?
Yeah, it's more so that you had that desire to build something. I had
You
that
felt
desire
restricted.
to grow.
My mom
yeah.
just commented here.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with you not wanting to take order. It had everything to do with you knowing that there was more to you than just
For sure.
that.
Absolutely.
Excuse me, guys.
And that's exactly what you're saying is why we were there a short time. We learned what we learned, took the skills that we learned in that setting and moved on.
Sure. So fast forward 10, 12 years later, we're married. Now we own several companies. Let's get right into something. You mentioned a second ago your why.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for everybody that's listening to this, I think that you need to take real close note to this. One of the reasons why you see Jenny driving a Porsche and you see her doing the things she's doing, it's not because I buy these things for her. In fact, aside from her ring, most of the things that she has, she bought herself. And let's talk about your why a little bit. Most people probably don't even know what that is or have never actually used those words, but or actually had that conversation. But your why is really, our whys are what push us. Why don't you tell everybody what you're talking about?
Yeah. So your why, that you hear the saying, or maybe you haven't heard the saying, but your why should make you cry. I don't know that my why actually personally makes me cry, but it's something that drives you every day. What is the reason that you do what you do every day? What is the reason that gets you up out of bed in the morning to come do this show? What is the why for doing this show? And he kind of shared that with you a little bit. But what is your why for building companies? What is my why for building teams and that kind of thing? And so you have to really dig deep. Is it because you're not a good employee? Because you truly feel like you have something in you that you want to get out? Is it financial reasons? Is it what is that why? For me personally, I can kind of share, and I think a lot of women will relate to this, but for me personally, my why, we'll touch on, I guess, what I do. When I started doing and always wanting to bring in money for the family, like he said, it's not that I have to, because, I could rely on him and his income, and I absolutely do. But I liked being able to contribute to the family. I liked being able to just be able to, I want to pay my own car payment,
Sure.
I don't know, is that, I feel like as a stay-at-home mom, once you get out of that working role, yes, you take care of the kids, yes, that's a big important role, a big job, that's first and foremost, but you kind of lose a little bit of yourself, I think.
Sure. So, and to be real clear on this too, that's not to say that if you are a stay-at-home mom and that's what you want to do, that doesn't mean, because some women's why is, some women want that.
Absolutely.
And that's fine. Here's what the key to this is though, is that, and I've said this a bunch of times, I use this kind of same phrase, but look, you have one chance, one go at life. Gary Vee said it best. There's no do-overs. There's no start-overs. It's not a video game. It's not like you can say, you know what, this last 5 years weren't great. Let's just go back to when we were 25. You have one shot, literally one. And so whatever it is that you want to be doing, whatever it is that is your passion and is what's inside of you, is what you probably should be pursuing. Now, there's probably some debate on that, but I would say this, that at the end of the day, if your gut is telling you that, and if your peace comes from providing some sort of contributions to the family, then that's what we need to do, Yeah. And I think that's why it's worked so well for us, because I think we understand that. So let's talk about something else. You had said, you had mentioned your why, and at one point, my why, if I can just share this with you guys, at one point, because I grew up, in my mom, I was just talking to my mom today. My mom works, she still works, and my mom has always been, my parents have always worked so hard, and I think that their generation, that's what they did, right? That was like, excuse me, that's what they did, is you worked until a certain point in your life, and then you retire. And I think as a kid, I remember watching that, and I know that one specific thing, and I don't know if my grandparents will watch this, but my grandpa worked so hard to get to a point, and then my grandma got sick, right soon after he retired. And I can just remember, even at a young age, just thinking like, I want to have fun. Like, I don't want to just like work really hard so that someday I can enjoy it. Like, I want to be able to enjoy it right now. And so my why, pretty much right out of the gates, out of high school, was that a couple things. Number one, I never, ever, ever want to fight with my wife about money. I don't want you to ever catch me and Jenny arguing and having any kind of altercation with each other about money, right? Why are you laughing at that?
I'm just laughing because, it's not, we don't fight about money, but like every once in a while it's like, it's more so like about the toys you're going to buy or something like that. I'm like, really? Toys. Is that necessary?
You think I got a problem?
The mini bike. He shows up in a mini bike.
I needed a mini bike. It was Casey. It was staring at me.
He shows up on the front porch with a mini bike, and I'm like, I don't.
Dude,
I
went to Tractor Supply store. All right, we were buying a horse trough to put the booze in for the party we were having, and just staring at me was a freaking mini bike.
He's got to get the mini
bike.
And
it started, and Casey started.
So I guess we're not fighting over money. It's about how you spend it.
No, but let me just. I want to stick to the point here.
Sorry.
Is that my why at one point was that I never wanted to fight with. I never want to fight with my wife about money. Number one. Number two, I wanted to make sure that no matter what I was doing what I wanted to be doing, or what I never wanted to be in a position or a situation that I was forced to go do something because I had to. And so in my mind, my game plan was that if I can build companies and if I can be my own boss and build a company, or many companies if need be, and that can generate enough revenue for my family, then number one, I can work on my terms, because if I don't have a boss, then no one's going to tell me what I have to do, number one. Number two, if it can generate enough revenue, then we'll never fight about money. And what's interesting about that, though, and the reason I wanted to bring this up, is that your why can change over time. Yeah. Because I think that what happened with us, and this is another little takeaway from this, is that we did that in our mid-20s. We built a good company. We built a company called Midwest Fire Safety with my cousin. It was a very successful business. We made great money. We didn't really have to do much. And quickly, my why was fulfilled. No longer were we fighting about money. Right. We could do whatever we wanted. In fact, the freedom was probably too much because we didn't really have to do anything. But my why quickly changed. I realized that I needed more than that, right? I realized that...
Your why shifted to helping others.
Yeah.
I
realized that having money and having that freedom is great, but if you can't provide that for other people, it's selfish. Is the way I felt. I'm not saying that's that's gospel, because there may be someone out there that wants it, but for me, I felt selfish.
You definitely weren't selfish, but you wanted to be able to provide that for other people, for family members, for friends who didn't necessarily have, the opportunity to earn the type of income you were earning.
Sure. And so at a point, really in our mid-20s, late 20s, I started to feel like my why was shifting. I started to realize that, okay, so maybe what I thought I wanted was part of it, but maybe there was more to it. Mm-hmm. And that's when really things started to change for us. And I think that the funny thing is, and this is probably the best lesson I've ever learned in my life, I know Zig Ziglar said it, but as soon as my attention started to go from how can I make as much money for myself so that I don't have to fight with you, if I can make enough money, then you and I won't fight. As soon as my attention went from that to how can I create something that other people can make money in, mm-hmm. The funny thing is we started making more and more money, and again, this show isn't about just money, but I will say this, we talked about this when we were kind of going over this show. Would you say, those of you that are listening to this, I want you to hear this very clearly. Number one, Jenny and I, neither one of us went to college. We both tried it and didn't succeed at it very quickly. Neither one of us had parents with money. Neither one of us had parents that didn't fight or perfect homes. Neither one of us had a mentor guiding us and telling us exactly what to do. Okay, we had to figure shit out on our own for the most part. But would you say we're happier?
When you lay it out like that.
Yeah, exactly. But would you say we were happier when we were broke, or we were happier when we had money?
When we had money.
Yeah. It's true. And I don't mean to, and again, I'm not saying that money buys happiness, but what I am saying, guys, is
I know what it buys.
It
buys freedom.
It buys a fucking mini bike is what it buys. Sorry.
Yes. It buys freedom. It buys choices. It buys the choice to buy a mini bike whenever the heck you want. yeah, it buys the freedom and the choices to be able to do whatever we want. Right?
So wouldn't you say then, I mean, wouldn't it be safe to say that someone listening to this show, that almost no matter where you're at in your life, wouldn't it be safe to say that most people probably aren't making enough? Wouldn't you say, ourselves included?
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
And so I think that's important. I think that there's a lot of attention these days on, do what you love, just be happy. That's all true. But let me tell you what, guys, when you've got income coming in, and when you're feeling like you're providing to the family, and when you're not fighting about whether or not you can pay a bill, and when you don't have to think twice about whether or not you can go to dinner. Again, this is not about
feeling accomplished during the day.
When that happens, you can think more clearly. You can make better decisions. I'm probably a better husband. You're probably a better wife.
For sure.
I think we're better to our kids. And so here's the point, and this is kind of what I want to kind of shift today's topic into is, if you're listening to this show and you're thinking, yeah, there's probably someone that's watching this that's saying, yeah, it must be easy for you guys. You own a business. I've been at the same job for 30 years. Must be nice, all that stuff. I've heard it before. Here's what I want to tell you guys. Not one single thing that we've ever done has ever been handed to us. Not one single thing that we've ever done really even went smoothly, to be honest with you. Nothing has ever gone smoothly. Starting energy comfort systems was freaking hard, getting into flipping houses was freaking hard. I got, there's a lot of things, a lot of stress that comes with it. But here's what I will say about it is that if you're willing to take the chance, and if you're willing to put up with the discomfort of it, and if you're willing to and if you and your partner are on the same side, and you guys are willing to kind of grab arms and just say, you know what, we're gonna do this because we know it's the right thing, and we know that on the other side of this discomfort and on the other side of this pain or whatever it is, could be something better. It doesn't guarantee that it will be better, but it could be. If there's a could, I'm probably going to do it, Yeah. So let's talk about that. What can people do? What can people do so first of all, before we get into that, thank you guys for joining us. I see a lot of you guys. Larry Yurko, what's up? Mom, what's up? Jamin. If you guys are watching this, share this out. I appreciate the comments. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask questions on here. We'd love to interact with you guys. Post the comments below, and make sure to share this out. Tag a friend in it. Maybe you've got a friend or a mom or somebody that you think should watch this. Tag them in this. We'd love to share as much of this as we can. We typically try to go 30 minutes on these, but today, since we got a winner in the house, we're gonna probably go as long as we need to. Okay, so let's talk about that. We're in so someone's in a position right now where they've been at a job for, let's just say they've been at the same job for 20 years, and they're comfortable and they're making decent money. And they know that deep down inside they want to do something more, but they just can't figure it out. Where do people start? What do you think is the first step? Maybe you don't even have an answer to it.
I don't. I mean, honestly, I think for me, I'm the kind of person that would probably just get out a piece of paper and a pen and just start writing, just start brainstorming, what can be done. I think something really important would be to get uncomfortable. So it sounds like the person you're describing is comfortable because they've been there so long. They probably have benefits and stuff stored up, vacation time, all that stuff that society tells us that we need.
Okay, let's stop right there. Let's just say, because I think that what you're saying is exactly right. Let's just say that someone's sitting there thinking that, and they're listening, and they're like, yeah, I know I want to do something. I know I want to get into, I want to join a network marketing company, or I want to try doing something, and I just don't know if it's the right thing to do. Let me ask you this. The first thing I think that you need to ask yourself, this is might hit some people right in the gut here, but if tomorrow was your last day, if you woke up tomorrow and found out that you only had a couple more days to live, would you be regretful that you didn't try something? Would you sit there and say, God damn it, I wish I would have would you say that?
This is the mindset that Nathan Walker has all day, every day, by the way. And so that's why he's
I will not. I refuse. Yeah, and I get emotional about this. I refuse. No, I'm not talking about you, Mom. I refuse to live in regret. 100% refuse to do it. It's the most crippling thing that people can have. And I'm saying that because I've regretted things in the past. I've said things that I regretted, or I've not done things and then later on wished that I had done them. And so I made a decision that when it comes to my life and it comes to the life of my wife and my daughters and the example that I want to set and the example that I want to be to people, the one thing that I won't ever be is regretful, okay? So if there's something pulling on me that much, if I'm that uncomfortable in my job, if I'm that unsatisfied with my situation, I'm going to fix it, or I'm going to at least try.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens if you try and it doesn't work? Try something else.
Yeah.
Keep trying because it's there,
yeah.
right?
If you have that, if you have that in you, that desire to grow or build something or whatever, yeah, you can't stop.
So let's talk about something else. We live in the United States of America. I know that a lot of people aren't happy with some things in this country, and I may agree or not with some of them. But here's what I will say. One thing we don't have to deal with in this country is we don't have to worry that if we want to go start a business that we're going to get murdered for it. All right? We don't have to worry that as a woman you're given different rights than a man for the most part, okay? There may be some social inequalities, that's possible. But for the most part, we live in a country where whatever you want, if you want it bad enough, it can be attained. And if you don't believe that, look at the people that flee to come to this country to come and start businesses. I was talking with go ahead.
And we live in a time that, social media is everything. Like, you can literally get on any social media outlet and start a business,
100%. And so, I guess one of the things, someone made a comment here and said, quit being lazy. That's right. A lot of people have a lot of good ideas and they have a lot of good intentions, but they just lack initiative and action.
Yeah, I like the word lazy, but I don't, because I think it's fear of failure. It's all of our limiting beliefs that are going on in our heads. Fear of failure. What are other people going to think, say, do? What about, it costs too much money to do, or, all of those things that are going to limit you from going and taking the action that you need to take. So yes, I agree with laziness. It was more so probably that they're afraid.
Afraid of what?
Failure. Afraid of what other people are going to say, do, think of them.
So let me ask you this: who has ever made a decision to try something? Who's ever gone out and taken a risk on a new business, or taken a chance and doing something on the side or whatever, and failed at it, and their family disowned them?
Right.
Has it ever happened? I bet it has, probably one time. But realistically, has that ever freaking happened? Who has ever actually decided to go out and start a new business, and they told all their friends they were going to do it? Maybe they took a chance at some new thing, and it didn't work out. Did their friends stone them?
Yeah.
They come and burn their house.
What is the worst case scenario?
What are you so scared of?
Yeah. What is that worst case scenario?
Yeah, what is it? I think most people are crippled by a fear that never even happens. We talked about that when we were at Brad Lee's in his studio. We kind of talked about that people are afraid of the feeling of fear, and so they know that as they go and start to do something, there's going to be discomfort. That's what they're actually afraid of, is that feeling of discomfort. Yeah. It's not the actual result of something happening, because it doesn't ever happen.
It's like the fear of fear.
It just doesn't. It's the fear of fear. Hashtag fear of fear, right?
I can't stop looking at myself in this monitor.
That's all right. If you're just joining us, share this, guys. Please share this out. We got about, we've had about 30 people at a time on here. We got some viewers on here. Let's get the attendance up on this thing, and let's get it shared out to some people. We're talking today about really, I think what it boils down to is how do you run a company? How do you maintain maybe you don't own a company, but you're just working. How do you manage your business life and your personal life? How do you and your spouse stay on the same page? How do you guys work together towards the same goals, I guess, and try to somehow have a happy life and a happy marriage? So I guess I'll ask you this. I'll put you on the spot in front of however many people will watch this, but would you say that you have a happy marriage?
For sure.
God, I was so scared.
No.
Oh my God.
No.
This is going to be the place that you out us. So, overall, I would say that,
So happy marriage has a lot to do with the kind of person I'm married to, by the way.
Hell yeah, it does. I'm not gonna argue with that one.
He is, what's the word? Probably
badass.
the most, definitely badass. Probably the most forgiving person, the person that is always thinking about you and other people, not just me, but other people. and ensuring that I don't have to ever be uncomfortable. So that has a lot to do with him and what he brings to our marriage.
Sure.
I don't know that I'm as good to him as he is to me,
Oh,
honestly. when it comes to that kind of thing, I am always there to support and encourage, and what he brings.
Feedback, sorry.
Support and encourage, and be his cheerleader, I guess, and always. Are you thinking? Or
I'm listening to you.
Yeah. So, what was the question? I kind of got off on it.
You just said something that kind of bothered me. Number one, you said that you're not as good to me as I am to you, which it's not true. I think that one of the reasons that you and I have always had a good relationship, even from the beginning, is that what I'm not good at, you are, and what you're not good at, I am.
So we complement each other.
Yeah, we complement each other, so that works. But let's try to figure out if we can help, if we can give somebody something that they can use today.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what are the things that you and I do on a regular basis to stay on the same page with things, number one, and also to make sure that each other knows that we're working towards the same thing. I'll start maybe to get it going if you want.
Sure.
She said it best. She's always been my cheerleader. So, ladies, if you're listening to this, if your husband is wanting to try something, if your husband works a stressful job, one of the things that has allowed me to be so maybe fearless in some of the things we've done is that I know there may be people out there that will make fun of what I did. There's people on this live that are probably going to mock some of the stuff that we do. But I know that the one person that will never mock me is you. I know that. And I know that the one person that no matter how bad I fuck up or no matter how no matter how dumb of a decision it was, that you're not gonna beat that into me. And I think that's one of the things. Husbands and wives, you guys need to be on the same page with stuff. Wives, even if you 100% disagree with it, oh, battery's exhausted. What's going on there?
No.
Is that even possible?
Keep talking.
No, it's shut off. No, it's off. You're just on a delay.
You sure?
It's on. Oh, so anyway, I think we might have lost video there. You guys might not be able to see us, but you can probably hear us for now. But anyway, what I was saying is that, we've always managed to. I've always known that even if you may not like something or agree with it, and it may not feel right to you, you've always got my back on it. You're never gonna make me feel stupid for trying something.
For sure.
I think that's important. I think that husbands, the other thing that can happen is that husbands, can you see it in the computer?
No.
The monitor?
No.
Yeah, so they can still hear us. I'm not sure what's going on, but I think that for husbands, your wives need your support. Your wives, they need to go out and try something on their own. They need to go out and take a chance on something. And if they're worried about what you're going to think about it, that's a problem. You need to be on the same page. So I don't know. I think that's one thing I have. That's one thing I think of, is that it's just important that you and I are on the same page, that what we're doing and where we're going is we're going in the same direction.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I think that starts with communication. I think you guys talked about this the other day in here as well, but it starts with communication, that constant just talking about your day, about what's going on with the company. The company, you come home and share with me what's going on, mainly the good,
Sure.
that's going on with whatever it is that you're doing, and vice versa. Just I guess like checking in throughout the day, things like that. I think that starts with communication, but then also it goes back to when you're excited about something new,
Sure.
being able to feel that and share that excitement with your spouse, and have them be able to get right behind you and be there for you, encourage you, cheer you on, and offer their help in any way, whatever that may be,
Yeah.
I guess.
So let's talk about what you do. Through the years, you and I have we've always had like one main company, something that has, for the most part, provided the main source of income for the family, right? But you've always been an entrepreneur as well. You've always had, you've had that burn in you as well, and so you've tried a lot of different things. I don't know that we should say the names of all of them, but she's tried several different direct marketing or network marketing company, direct sales companies. Excuse me. For those of you that are maybe don't know what that is, there are companies, and just be on Facebook. I'm sure you get spammed by them all the time, but there's about 1 million companies out there, 1 million friends of yours that have some work from home opportunity that maybe you've heard of and tried. Maybe you've heard of it and for whatever reason didn't think you can do it. But why don't we talk about that? I mean, is there actual opportunity out there for people to make money from home?
100%. So there is actual opportunity for people to make money from home. And I think this, when we were talking about the person that feels stuck, I think some opportunity like that is the perfect opportunity, because typically they're low startup. There's not much investment. I feel like, in the past about 4 years, I've been able to build 2 six-figure or more network marketing sections or whatever.
Sure. Well, streams of income.
Streams of income, yeah. And, within that, there was low startup. You do have to get over that fear of what are your friends going to think, what is your family going to think, what is your partner going to think, that kind of thing. And once you can get over that and just take massive action, whatever opportunity it is, you can absolutely build real streams of income.
100%. Yeah. So that I think part of it too, though, if you look back. One of the biggest things I see people, I'm sure people now are sitting here thinking this, like, hearing this possible MLM talk.
Right,
or,
yeah.
I saw someone talk, number one, we're not going to push anything on anybody. In fact, the company that she's with now, I don't have anything to do with at all. In fact, I've never really, I've not personally really done much with any of those. But the reality is that through all the years that we've been together, you've always made money doing something, right? Yeah. And I think that here's the thing, guys, if you're listening to this, if your wife is wanting to get involved in something and she comes to you and tells you about it, just encourage her. Yeah. Don't fight her on it. I did it, and you know what? It didn't really help anything. It's one of those things that, like, at the end of the day, even if you're not making any real money with it, it made you feel good. Exactly. It gave you some kind of identity.
It gives you an identity. It gives you, gets you out of the house. If you are, a stay-at-home mom, it gets you out of the house. You get to interact with other adult humans. Yeah. But there's so much good that comes from these types of companies. Just other people building you up, learning so much personal development through it, and just. And then of course the ability to really build a business, whether or not you're making a few $100s or a six-figure stream of income, whatever it is, and that could be based on personal goals as well, whatever they personally want to make. But absolutely, and it's been really fun for me to do that kind of thing. I've met so many people through those companies solely like met them on Facebook and will meet them in person for the first time, a year later. Right. Like it's just a cool thing. You find friends from all over the country, doing this kind of thing.
So here's some words from Nathan Walker on this, if you care about it. If your wife is wanting to try something, if she's wanting to get involved in network marketing, let her do it. All right, don't give her shit about it. Just let her do it, because it's, number one, it might work. You might actually make $100,000 a year or more, like you've done for many, many years. And she might actually feel really good about herself from doing it. So I think that's another key to this whole thing. As a couple, man, we got to pick and choose our battles. There's so many things that I can fight you on, and there's so many. That almost sounds like I got a lot of things to be mad about. But there's so many things out there for us to be bickering about, and for us to kind of, I don't know, to cause stress.
Right.
Why do we need to fight about that? If you want to try it, try it.
Right.
Look, if it costs a little bit of money to do it, let her do it. Sorry, go ahead.
I would say, and to the women out there, looking at this and hearing what we're saying, I think, just being really communicative with your spouse about what it is that you want, the goals that you're wanting to attain with this, and then getting over the fear of talking to them about it, or getting over the fear of what other people, what you think other people will think of it. Because I honestly think that's one of the biggest holdups, not only in that type of space, but in life in general. Like, who gives a...
Say it.
Who gives a fuck what other people think? Like,
damn. Yeah, totally. So look,
if Nathan Walker figured or cared what other people think, none of this would, right?
True. So let's talk.
Nathan Walker doesn't care.
Nathan Walker doesn't care.
Definitely
Really.
Not.
You know what the funny thing is at the core of it all, Nathan Walker does care a lot more than I say. And the funny thing is that I have to wear, to some degree, have to wear that hat a little bit. I have to kind of walk around as if I don't care what people think, because if I did, then I wouldn't. I'd be crippled.
Yeah.
If I cared, if I based my decisions on what other people directly...
That's what it is basing your decisions...
Yeah, if I base my decisions on it, then
on what other people
then
think.
nothing would happen. And, I believe that there's a ripple effect to everything. And so I know that...
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Let's talk about the ripple effect.
Well, I just believe that there's a ripple effect to everything. So, if I make a decision... If I have an idea, okay, I have an idea for a new company. Me and Casey are partnering up on a new company that I think is going to change people's lives. I really 100% do. It's something that you've been talking about. You've been pushing me to do for years, probably a couple years. It's funny. I've started several companies. Some of them have done really well. Some of them haven't. But I have this thing right now where one of the reasons that I haven't started this company that you've been pushing me to do is because I'm a little bit. There's a little bit of me that might kind of. It's a little awkward. It's a little uncomfortable for me. It's the first time in my life that I've actually felt a little bit of discomfort in something. And you know what's funny, guys, is that I have to take my own advice. If someone out there is listening to what I'm saying and they're like, well, I want to do that, but it makes me uncomfortable. I would say if it makes you uncomfortable, then you should do it.
100%.
And so here I am at a point in my life where I don't really need more work. I don't. I don't need another. Cause of stress or another responsibility. I've got enough of those right now. But here's the thing, that ripple effect you just talked about, I know that my inability to make a decision could prevent people from having access to some things that could change their life. Mm-hmm. And I believe that if I do what I'm going to do, so people saw me probably put this on Facebook. It said, my wheels are turning, watch me do this. What we're going to do here over the next year or so, it might take a few months for this thing to fully roll out, but what you're going to see, I believe, is something that's going to change people's lives. I believe that it's going to better our life. It's going to make me a better man. It's going to make me a better husband. But I believe it's going to give people some resources to things that they never thought were possible. And the ripple effect that's going to be caused from that is probably uncalculable. Yeah. I probably will have no idea the effects that it'll have. And so I take that as a big responsibility, that if I'm going to sit back and if I'm going to have something that I think could be very helpful, and I don't share that with people, then that was a disservice to people. Right. So you got excited about ripple effect.
Yeah.
What did you want to say about that?
The quote on the background of my Facebook page is, "What if your dreams had a ripple effect?" And I feel like, I don't know, for some reason that quote always hits me whenever I hear it. What if your dreams had a ripple effect? Because if you is this
it's when you're
clanging?
Yes.
Because if whatever our dreams are, what your dream was to build companies that other people could thrive in. You have another dream of building a company that other people are going to benefit from. If we stopped at that and we stopped at, okay, that's a dream, or okay, I could never do that, or stopped at what are other people going to think, well, then that ripple effect never happens. Yeah. And so how many lives are changed or being changed because of you taking action on those dreams?
When we started Energy Comfort Systems, the company that has really given all these things that we're talking about possible, we had a company that was doing really well. We made good money. We sat and Didn't even really have to work. I could take as much time off. I didn't have people blowing my phone up. It was very easy. But we saw an opportunity, and I saw something in another space. I heard of LeVelUp, which most of you guys know now about LeVelUp Ecotech. It's the manufacturer and provider of all the products that we sell throughout Energy Comfort Systems. But at that time, I could remember you didn't necessarily want to do it because it was going to take away my attention for a long time. My partner at the time, he didn't really want to do it because it was a risk and it cost money.
Uncomfortable.
A lot of people said it was stupid, but there was something in my gut that said that if I did this, I might be able to provide an opportunity for Jay and Christina. If I did this, my brother and I had gotten into a really big fight over work. I wanted my brother to work with me, but the only place for him in our other business wasn't a good fit for him, and so I had lost kind of touch with my little brother a little bit, and I thought, man, if I could start this new company, that might give him a place because I didn't like where he was working. I didn't like that. And that was the best decision I ever made. The single best decision, aside from meeting you and aside from having kids and stuff like that.
Right.
That decision now provides opportunity. If you're watching this or listening to this and you're a part of that company, just comment below. Just maybe say something about that. But if you're a part of that ECS brand, there's a lot of people that are affected by that. And I'm not saying that to take credit for it, but what I am saying is that when I decided, and I remember talking to you about it and saying, look, I'm going to do this. People don't like it. It doesn't make sense logically to do it, but it feels like the right thing to do. I remember being like, I'm going to have to be gone for a while. It's going to cost some money. And I remember you being like, let's go. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, guys. If you have a spouse that's ride or die with you, number one, your spouse always knows you. And so the fact that I knew that she was giving me the green light to do it meant that she believed in me and she believed that we could make that happen.
Right.
But the fact that I knew that I had her support made it easy for me to go out and take those risks, spend the time on the road that I had to spend, do all those things, reinvest the money, whatever it was. That was a huge part of it. So, look, I think we can go on forever. I think that maybe we should do a part 2 of this when the video is better. I think that if you're listening to this and you want to hear a part 2, maybe a specific topic of Jenny and I, maybe we'll do just our own show. Maybe we'll just do a Jenny and Nathan show on like Wednesdays or Tuesdays or something. But anyway, if you're listening to this and you got anything out of it, share it, like it, subscribe to us on iTunes. You're going to be able to catch any of these podcasts are going to be on iTunes. How do we find that, Casey? We look
LeVelUp with Nathan Walker on iTunes.
LeVelUp with Nathan Walker on iTunes is the best way to find us there.
In the podcast app, yeah.
In the podcast app, you can find it. Look, it's been fun to have you on here. I hope you guys got something out of this. I know I may have talked it up a little bit, and you might not have thought that was really necessary, but the reality is, husbands, if you're listening to this, get your wives to follow Jenny Walker. Find her on Facebook, Jennifer Walker. She's a cool chick. She does a lot of cool things. She could probably help your wife make some money. She could probably, if nothing else, inspire your wife. Jenny and I love to help people. We'd love to give back as much as we can. We'd love to be a part of as many people's lives as we possibly can.
100%.
Got anything you want to add, Mama?
No, that's it. I'm excited to be on here. Thanks for having me.
Good deal. Play it as we roll out.
Woo!
Thanks so
Jenny
much,
Walker.
guys. Appreciate you guys listening. We love you.
Mean it.
Bye, guys.